just little people with big old hearts to feel. What you put inside of it make us or break us down. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. We got time for 2 more songs up here, you guys, and we want to leave it up to you guys. We got a couple songs locked away, and one's really, really crazy, and one's really, really sweet. So which one you want to hear first? This side of the room says crazy, and I heard 2 people say sweet. Crazy? All right. Oh, sometimes I wanna be myself. Tired of trying to be anybody else. All the things I wanna get you down. Make you serious, make you wear a frown. I just say, oh, I'm getting older. Be honest with yourself, this won't ever be the same. Oh, I'm getting older. Be honest with yourself, this won't ever be the same. Man, I'm only part of the solution. What you say, what you really feel. 'Cause I'm here just to say what you really need. Oh. Oh. All right, here you go, Thunder. What you got? Say, come and takes us a day. When they stop, when they bow, when they pray. Looking back upon the world we know. Take a moment of a later, but it stop like a change. Can we really be the light in the night? Take a moment of a day, but it stop that was right. Can we talk about the things that are late that we need at the one side degree? Can we really set it free? Can we look back on the history? Never thinking of a day, but we call it just a mystery. They never really say it, they really just feel, because they never really stand for the things that are real. Can we really just stand up? Take a moment of a day to really speak out. Take a moment of a day to kind of really just see that we're never gonna young, the world believe. But get to know that. Be honest with yourself. This won't ever be the same. Oh, get to know that. Be honest with yourself. This won't ever be the same. Take it away, y'all. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, man. That is so much Cahoon and vocals.
My brother on guitar. That insane guitar.
Thank you guys so much, man. Thank you guys so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Artiste brothers. Ron Artiste II, Thunderstorm.
Mahalo, guys.
Y'all help us get the word out about their show coming up at the Maui Arts and Cultural Center. And if anybody happens to be on the mainland between now and then, y'all look for them in New York. They will be there here in just, what was it, 6 weeks? You guys will be over there?
March 1st we'll be there.
March 1st, look for them in New York, and then they're going to make the way back across the country, across the ocean, and they'll be here at the Maui Arts and Cultural Center on April 9th. Help us spread the word.
Thank you all so much.
We got time for one more. Do you guys want to hear one more? All right. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. For this last song, it's a special message to anybody listening. And we all go through stuff every once in a while, crazy stuff, good stuff, really bad stuff, and sad stuff, and stuff that makes us feel like little kids all over again. Everything in between, right? Anyway, this song is a reminder that no matter how murky it looks, someone in this whole world, someone loves you. And if you're convinced no one does, these two crazy guys up here do. So just remember that. And that's what this song's about. So listen close to the words because they're for every one of you guys.
I have learned through all of my life, when our hands are empty, that's when we are free. And I have seen when we are small, that's when we're at our best. So before you go, we want you to know that we love you as our own. Before you go, you to know that we love you is our own. It seems so easy to get trapped in the lies, with all this pain and all this confusion tries to get you down. But I say no. That's when you fly. Before you go, want you to know that we love you is our own. Before you go, we want you to know, ooh, yeah, that we love you is our own.
Thank you all so much again for listening today. Again, my brother Thunderstorm, and I run Artista second. We have some more music over there. Brother Dory brought CDs with us today, and please don't go anywhere because Casanova's not done. Some more music coming up right after us, man. It's a wonderful way to spend a Sunday, isn't it? You guys agree?
So before you go, we want you to know that we love you as our own. Before you go, we want you to know that we love you as our own.
you all so much. God bless you all. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
All right, what a treat. Thank you guys so much for coming to join us today. We're in Makawao with a live studio audience. This is Upcountry Sunday, acoustic style, Mana'o Hanaho Radio. All proceeds today go to benefit the radio station that keeps supporting all of us here in the community. So thank you all so much. We've had Jared of Molten Soul today that has donated his talents. We've had Ron Artis II and Thunderstorm. And y'all don't go anywhere because we have Sierra and the Nomads coming up. We're going to switch it over and turn it up.
Well, aloha and good evening. It is truly an honor to be here, especially on this special occasion, to present a proclamation on behalf of Governor David Ige to the Lay for Paris group. And again, I would like to present a proclamation, but before I do that, I would like to again say on behalf of Governor David Ige and the people of the state of Hawaii, it is truly a pleasure to recognize the Lay for Paris group on this special day, where I have the honor in presenting a proclamation on behalf of Governor David Ige and Lieutenant Governor Shan Tsutsui. So before the presentation, just wanted to mention Governor David Ige actually was here recently on January 11th, so he did have the opportunity to meet with some of the group here with the Lay for Paris. So again, he was here to extend his gratitude for the phenomenal work that the group has done to share Hawaii's aloha spirit with Paris and the world. And likewise, I was able to hear the story of the Lay for Paris, and it was truly quite an inspiration. And I understand that it started with a simple act of kindness, basically, of here in Hawaii, we love to give lays, wear lays here in Hawaii, and it was a simple act of kindness, a concept from the Cynthia Rose Foundation. And what they do there on a daily basis is what's called the lay of the day. And so they share a lay to someone, with someone, as a blessing, just again, to share that love, the joy, and peace that we are known for here in Hawaii. So with that same concept, with the Cynthia Rose Foundation, it was desire to share that as well with the people of Paris after the terrorist attacks on November 13th. So that's how this, I understand, came to fruition. So I do want to recognize the three individuals that spearheaded this Lay for Paris project. And again, I have Sherry Austin, who is the director of Cynthia Rose Foundation, that again is being on behalf of the Lay for Paris group. on her behalf as well, along with Ron Ponzo, who's the owner of Nalu's restaurant, and Sandy, his wife, is here on his behalf from Nalu's South Shore Grill. And also Timothy Lara, who is here this evening. Thank you, Tim, for being here, who is the owner of Hawaiian Paddle Sports. So it all started here, which grew into a community effort of over 200 volunteers involved to make a mile-long lei for the people of Paris, wanting to bring the love, the joy, and hope to others across the world. So really the efforts for the Lei for Paris group has really made not just an impact here on the lives for those here in the community, but made a ripple effect around the world. So I just wanted to extend my deepest thank you and mahalo for your time, donations, love, and perseverance in making this happen. We are definitely proud to have you, the Lei for Paris group, representing, the state of Hawaii. So again, I would like to read this proclamation, and I will have, okay, thank you for holding it. As you can see, it's a lofty piece here. So I'd like to present a proclamation on behalf of Governor David Ige and Lieutenant Governor Shan Setsui. And it reads here, it's actually a proclamation presented to, again, Hawaiian Paddle Sports, Timothy Lara, we have Sherry Austin from the Cynthia Rose Foundation, and also to Ron Ponzo from the Nalu South Shore Grill. And it reads, whereas the coordinated attacks on November 13, 2015 in Paris left 130 people dead and hundreds more injured. And whereas an expression of love, support, and solidarity with the citizens of Paris, Maui residents joined together for 5 full days, 12 hours per day, to make a mile-long lei to share Hawaii's aloha spirit with Paris and the world. And whereas the Cynthia Rose Foundation partnered with Nalu's South Shore Grill and Hawaiian Paddle Sports to organize the creation of the mile-long tea leaf and fresh flower lei that was hand-delivered to Paris with the assistance of United Airlines, flew the lei more than 7,400 miles free of charge. And whereas as many as 200 volunteers contributed to the Lei for Paris, either by helping to weave the lei through financial contributions and donations of countless tea leaves and flowers. And whereas the efforts of Sherry Austin, Ron Ponzo, Timothy Lara, and countless volunteers worked to create the mile-long lei as a symbolic hug from the people of Hawaii to comfort and stand as a bright light for the citizens of Paris and the world. Therefore, I, David Y. Ige, and I, Shan S. Setsui, Lieutenant Governor of the State of Hawaii, do hereby proclaim January 22nd, 2016 as Lei for Paris Day. Yes, so Lei for Paris Day in Hawaii, and encourage the people of the Aloha State to join us in thanking and congratulating the efforts of the Lei for Paris Committee. Again, this was done at the state capitol in the executive chambers in Honolulu on the 20th day of January 2016, and again, signed by Governor David Y. Ige and Lieutenant Governor Shan S. Setsui from the state of Hawaii. Again, thank you very much, and I'd like to present this to Timothy Lara from Hawaiian Paddle Sports. Thank you again. And this is for Sandy Ponzo on behalf of your husband, Ron, and Nalu's South Shore Grill. Oh, and we also have another proclamation that will be given to Sherry Austin at a later time from Cynthia Rose Foundation. But again, thank you again to the Lei for Paris group for all that you've done. It's greatly appreciated, and it's a pleasure to have you to represent the state of Hawaii.
On behalf of myself, Ron Ponzo, and Sherry Austin, we wanted to thank the governor and also the state legislator and county for the proclamations they're giving today. We framed one of the posters for the Lei to Paris and wanted to give that to Governor Ige. So.
Thank you. I'll be on Oahu to attend Governor's State of the State address at the state capitol on Monday, so I'll definitely bring this with me to present it to Governor. Thank you very much. Mahalo.
Thank you very much, Leah Belmonte. And Thank you very much, all of you. Very good job. Give them a round of applause. And at the same time, we're not done yet. I'd like to call up Senator Roz Baker and Representative Ng, who will present the Kaniela Ing's Kalamaya'u, who will present the proclamation from the Hawaii State Legislature.
Okay, so this one is not directly to the businesses, but it's the Hawaii State Legislature hereby presents this certificate to the volunteers who crafted the Lei for Paris. Whereas despite the vast geographic distances between the state of Hawaii and the rest of the world, our people never turn a blind eye to the tragedies that occur across the ocean, but instead diligently seek to remind the world of the existence and power of kindness, love, and of course, aloha. Whereas last November, nearly 200 volunteers in Maui came together to handcraft a mile-long lei of orchid flowers and tea leaves in memory of the 130 victims of the terrorist attacks in Paris, serving as a gesture reflecting the unity and solidarity that exists between the people of France and the state of Hawaii.
And whereas Ron Ponzo, Sherry Austin, and Tim Lara spearheaded the Lei for Paris group and delivered the lei in 8 sections to 8 different memorials across the city to stand as a reminder that violence and hatred will never overpower the bonds of brotherhood and the flame of hope that bind peace-loving people together. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the 28th Legislature of the State of Hawaii, regular session of 2016, recognizes and commends the volunteers who crafted and delivered the Lei for Paris, along with their many supporters and donors, for their accomplishments, dedication, and service to both our community as well as the global community, and extends to them its warmest aloha and best wishes for continued success in all their future endeavors. Let's give a big round of applause for all of the volunteers.
This was also signed, in addition to Senator Baker and myself, by Speaker Suki and President Ron Kochi of the Senate.
Tell me your name.
Hi, my name is Sandy, and I was one of the volunteers for the Lei for Paris, and we had so much people come down to Nalu South Shore Grill and participate in this really great event, and we were able to take the Lei to Paris and present it to all the places that had a lot of damage and lives were lost and everything. It comes from our hearts.
Hello, everybody.
All right, my name is David Kerner.
I'm Deidre Teagarden, and we're here at Kihei 4th Friday, and we just had the governor's representative deliver a proclamation for the Lei for Paris Day, as well as Senator Roz Baker and our Representative Kaniela Ng, everybody coming out to support the great work that the community did for the Lei for Paris.
Yeah, it was fantastic to see Tim and Ron and Sandy and Sherry get the recognition they deserve. When they started the project for the Lei for Paris, it was a fantastic surprise as my friend and I went to Nalu's South Shore Grill for dinner, and they were weaving the lei. And we had heard about it, and we thought, wow, we are going to have a chance to volunteer, but there it was. So we sat down and just randomly started doing tea leaf weaving, and I was able to do so with my son, and texted Deidre, she showed up. It was fantastic.
You know, I think that's what Hawaii is all about. Working in the governor's office, we used to talk about the law of aloha, you know, anti-palahi paki. It's written in the state constitution, and this was a perfect example of how the community really comes together to share the spirit and the law of aloha with the whole world. So it's great to be a part of it.
Yeah, and each step of the way, serendipity, coincidence, magic happened, and we got to be a part of something that touched a lot of people along the way.
A virtual hug.
A virtual hug.
A virtual hug to everyone in Paris and all across the world.
Yeah, it felt good.
Good to be a part of it.
Cool, thank you very much.
Thank you.
How long was that lei?
It was a mile long, and we had a fantastic fun time down at the McKenna Surf and Golf.
Right.
They were very gracious to open up part of the King's Highway for us to go out there and measure it. I believe there's some drone footage of that you might be able to get. It was an amazing project. Again, the community, the guests.
Over 200 people came together to make this lei.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, we just did a proclamation for the Lei for Paris that was done by a few businesses that spearheaded it and 200 volunteers. It was really incredible. A mile-long orchids and tea leaves that was hand-delivered to Paris for the 130 victims of those very tragic terrorist attacks. So, you know, it's being said over and over that, you know, the world, as it becomes more and more contentious, that they'll become looking to Hawaii as a place of peace and aloha. And I think these members of our Kia community really exhibited that.
Akakū is here in Maui County to help you exercise your right to free speech. View government meetings. Watch programs submitted by your community. Check out our youth programs, and more. You can learn how to produce your own shows too. We offer classes on field production, studio production, and editing. You can also make an appointment with us to record an open mic on any topic for free. Give us a ring at 871-5554. Contact us online at www.akakū.org or visit us on location at 333 Dairy Road in Kahului. Akakū, empowering our community's voice through access to media.
The little fire ants were traced to shipments of hapū'u, or Hawaiian ferns, from the Big Island.
Little fire ants causing some big problems for Oahu residents.
They've managed to invade yet another area on Maui.
We're told it's a heavy infestation, much larger than the ones found on Oahu, in Mililani, and Waimanalo.
And the big trouble is that they're spreading.
When you look in the grand scheme of things, the nastiest of the invasive ants with the greatest impact on Hawaii is the little fire ant.
Many people have experienced already the tropical fire ant, and people have been stung by them, and they're not fun. They're awful. The little fire ant, LFA, is much, much worse. And it not only will be on the ground, but it will go up in your trees.
Most ants will nest in the ground and then actually forage on trees, but these will look for places to set up their nests in the trees themselves. For an arboreal species, for a species that like to live in trees, they're not actually very good at hanging on. With little fire ants, when they infest an area, populations there are amongst the most dense of any pest ant species. So about 90 million ants per acre.
I'm just like majority of the population out there. Just heard about the little fire ant, but that was about it, without really being conscious of the danger that it represents.
To understand the importance or the significance of these recent detections, we really only need to look at what's happened on Hawaii Island over the past 10 or 15 years.
I'm in my 7th year of this job, working in Hilo. And when I first started, most of the fire ant calls we got from the Lower Puna area, the Lower Puna, Hawaii Paradise Park, Hawaiian beaches. And then there's also another big hotspot around Curtistown and Ka'au. And then the next hotspot was really Pepe Echo and the beginning of the Hamakua coast.
Over the 7 years, that's really spread, and for me, the most noticeable part of that spread is an increase in density where they were originally. So that basically there's a lot more now. The whole township of Hilo is now a very heavily infested part of the problem. We've also discovered outlying infestations at Honoka'a, at Waipia Valley, at Nalehu, and then really down the west coast in its entirety. So Hawaii Island is pretty much surrounded by fire ants, and I think the limit of their success will be dependent on elevation. Highest we found it in Hawaii is about 3,800 feet. Looking worldwide, it's about 6,000 or 8,000 feet. So it really impacts on all of us at every segment of our lives. And the people living in these infested sites could tell you pretty quickly why it was so much trouble.
We got rained upon by, all of these fire ants. We didn't know what it was, but it was very, very painful. It was like burning after that. Just had to go and take a shower, and it still was burning after that.
It was like, what is this rash? Intensely itchy, painful rash.
They'd crawl up our legs, they were on our couches, in our beds, in my dresser. They hurt for a long time.
Prior to the treatment of this school, they were in my classroom. Everybody, at one point or another, got a bite or two.
You can go to the beach and put your picnic basket down, and maybe you're going home with some little fire ants.
I think actually went with us to our homes. That's the bad part. In our cars, you spread and you end up in your bed, and you get a bite in the night, and it's not a good feeling.
It is so easy to spread things accidentally. I don't go to the beach anymore because I know they're down there, but that doesn't mean that my neighbors won't.
You certainly couldn't put an infant on a blanket, sit under a tree, and have a picnic in our front yard. You couldn't do that anymore. We have 3 cats and 2 dogs, and every single one of them has a clouded cornea.
The rate of dogs and cats and other domestic animals being affected by fire ants, the numbers are absolutely massive when you compare that with areas that don't have little fire ants.
So I already knew it was a fire ants. Fire ants were biting, yeah. Next day I went to the veterinarian and they said the fire ants and bite them in the eye. They told me dogs can go blind, yeah, if they get bite good enough. So the white tail one's eye, little bit.
There's no question that the fire ants and the cloudy corneas come together.
When the thing was white like that, ever since then, still chase cats.
So aside from the discomfort of being stung, one of the biggest problems for agriculture is the ability of little fire ants to ranch and look after common plant pests like mealybugs and aphids. Those insects secrete a sugary substance that the ants use as a source of energy that allows them to expand and grow and farm yet more mealybugs and scale insects, which makes the plant sicker and sicker. That decline in health could result in quite substantial crop losses.
Harvesting anything from a tree is going to be very, very, very difficult. And it will greatly impact agriculture. I mean, agriculture as we know it will not be here.
Hawaiian forests are really quite unique in the world. They've developed and evolved very much in isolation. Like most island ecosystems, they're very vulnerable to changes. There are no native ants in Hawaii, so invasive ant species can be particularly damaging. And little fire ants can wreak quite catastrophic ecological impacts on any ecosystem, but especially the ones that are more delicate and more complex, like the ones in Hawaii. There will be incredible consequences in terms of species richness, biological diversity, and the survival of rare and endangered species. A team which included Dr. Donna Lee and myself worked on an economic analysis of the costs of fire ants to Hawaii Island. So she went through all the possible costs, the impacts that fire ants would have from an economic basis. And from her study, she predicts that in the next couple of years, those costs are going to kind of settle in at about $100 million a year.
The movement of people and goods from Hawaii Island serves as a pathway for little fire ants. With effective biosecurity at all airports and harbors, we have a chance of stopping their spread.
The biggest change that I've seen is the increase in discoveries of little fire ants on neighbour islands.
We just see the pests on the Big Island as a threat to Maui.
We find little fire ant weekly. We're doing, trying to do it as well as can be done, but they're still getting through.
Some items are really high risk. I think particularly the tree fruits.
Those are where we find the little fire ant on heliconias, gingers, or the cut flowers and foliage.
We see them moving in plants. We see them moving in hapu'u logs that had been collected from forests that are infested with little fire ants. What else are they moving in?
The passengers carry their cut flowers and foliage and produce to each other, family, friends, island to island. We see coolers coming in inter-island. When we can, we stop and check coolers, but it's not that often, and it's not regulated. Now we find that it's coming in on cars. It's in under the carpets, it's in the cushions. We as inspectors would like to be able to check the private vehicles coming into Island. We used to just really focus on Big Island, things coming in from Big Island, and now we have to worry about Oahu.
The state says it has uncovered billions of little fire ants on Oahu.
Inspectors began canvassing Waimanalo to try to determine where these dreaded fire ants may have spread after finding a nest near a plant nursery.
Not just plant nurseries. For the first time ever, little fire ants have been found inside homes on Oahu.
Just look at the amount of people who showed up to this town hall meeting in Mililani, Mauka, all worried about how the state plans to put an end to this pest.
When it comes to eradication, if you're just looking to manage the problem, like around your home, there are a lot of things you can do. But I'd rather try to eradicate these things. And that requires a whole different set of skills. So it's not only what you use, it's how you use it, when you use it. What's really important here is the discipline or the science of eradicating something.
While little fire ants might be small and a little slow, they've managed to invade yet another area on Maui.
The pests were found across 20 acres of land along Hana Highway near Nahiku.
Crews from the Maui Invasive Species Committee started getting stung by ants. Turns out those are little fire ants.
We was doing Myconia sweeps on that particular day where we found LFA. It felt like fire or like electric, even like an electric burn. It just started to burn.
There's so many different places where these ants could be.
And then you add to that by crawling through that vegetation, you're getting covered with these little stinging ants. They're like miniature wasps. I think it's a bit like rolling around in fiberglass and then being soaked with Frank's hot sauce.
Yeah.
Nobody in the right mind wants to subject themselves to that kind of place.
Years of research at Hawaii Ant Lab and UHCTAR have produced new treatment protocols to help Big Island homeowners control the ants, as well as eradicate small infestations on other islands.
My research on the little fire ant has been quite extensive. We've tried several different insecticides as well as baits.
The baits we use are generally between 99 and 99.9% food. And we lace that with like 1 or 0.1% active ingredient. Everything that should be considered from a toxicology viewpoint have already been considered at a federal level. And baits are really cool because we can spread stuff around and have the ants do the work for us.
Insect growth regulator, in the simplest term, interrupts the cycle of an insect's growth pattern. Eventually, it will make the queen sterile, so that she can't produce any viable offspring. If my little worker ant feeds the queen, feeds the rest of the colony, then have a growth regulator in there that will sterilize the queen, we've got a good product.
So over a period of time, I've come up with what we now call the HAL gel bait. So now we have an insect growth regulator that we can mix in a gel. With LFA, they actually have some of their nests in the trees. And so by just treating the ground, what that means is that we're missing a whole bunch of colonies that then stay and repopulate the ground as soon as there's spare space down there. Every square foot of land will have, on average, a couple of thousand ants. The normal standard would be that we would treat there 8 times in a period of 1 year. Then we'll continue to monitor for 3 years after that, so that's 4 years. The ideal is to inflict the most amount of damage to your target organism using the least amount of chemicals and using the most benign chemicals with the least amount of non-target impacts. I think an upcoming issue for Hawaii Island now, as being so badly infested, is that there are thousands of homeowners out there who suddenly discover they've got ants everywhere and goes to the pesticide aisle, just starts loading up and then starts spreading that stuff all over their property without really thinking about what each product does. And what we're going to end up doing is poisoning our land, spreading pesticides all over our property, and our neighbour is, and our neighbour's neighbour is. We're either going to be drinking that fairly shortly or our fish are going to be swimming in it. So I think that's actually going to be a big issue. And a lot of what we do is just hopefully help people understand the problem and how to deal with it without using as much pesticides as they're using at the moment. We've been working very hard at the two main infestations we have on Oahu. The Mililani site, we're actually getting some really good results there.
Population levels are down. We're not finding ants. After the initial treatments, there was a large knockdown of ant population. Without the cooperation of everyone here, we wouldn't have been able to accomplish anything. On the site at Waimanalo, which is more of a forested site, we're finding that the progress has been slower than we thought, and it may be that we need to continue treating there for a bit longer than normal. One of the most interesting eradication projects we have going at the moment is the one on Kauai.
Historically, the little fire ant arrived to Kauai in 1999 on a shipment of palms. And unfortunately, now it's about 12 to 15 acres. Right here, we're on Kali'iwai Beach. It's a beautiful sandy scape, and it abuts this cliffside area. The ant infestation is actually along that cliff line around the corner.
We started an eradication program there, and my team has been working quite diligently on that site.
So this project is progressing really well. Phase 1 was all of the easily accessible areas. It was still heavily landscaped, and so a lot of vegetation, a lot of very tall palm trees, and so it was challenging, but it was at least accessible. The phase 2 is treating all of these high angle and the really steep and loose terrain, all these challenging areas along the ocean. Since we have to use the ropes and rappel down cliff faces and go through very steep terrain, it's really challenging. I've walked up and down these trails 12 to 14 times yesterday, which is really, really exhausting. When we do our surveys for the ants and the population here, we need to take counts. And so we set out little collection vials that are baited with a tiny amount of peanut butter. We set them out, and then about an hour later, we pick them up. Before treatment started, almost every single vial had ants, and there were hundreds of ants in each vial. The only places we don't find the ants are actually on the direct cliff face where there's no vegetation. As long as there's a little bit of leaf litter or vegetation or something to keep moisture, the ants are there. So before we started treating, the only ants we saw were little fire ants. And there was a very clear boundary of little fire ants on one side, and then you have several other species on the other side of this boundary.
The first time I came, I was getting stung as I was going through the trail. I haven't gotten stung yet this trip, so. The first thing that I noticed this time was a lot of the other ants around. When I first came here, you couldn't see them. We're finding queens, yeah, so which is a good sign. Yeah. Once you see the queens out and about, that means there's not enough workers, so she's having to go out and fetch food for herself.
We have a long-term monitoring of at least 3 years to make sure that the ants are gone. I'm really, really pleased with the progress so far of what I see.
It's all worth it, knowing that we're helping protect Kali'iwai so that it hopefully doesn't end up like Hilo and Puna.
So the latest detection we have in Maui is in an area known as Huelo, and that particular infestation was discovered and reported by a resident that lived there. It covers about 4 acres. We've had a close look at that site, but it's very much doable. I think our team can eradicate it from there, given the normal treatment protocols that we use. Waihehe is just a few miles west of Kahului. So after 3 years of continuous monitoring of that site, I got to a point where I was happy to say that we'd eradicated it. So that was a success in many ways. The most important one is, yeah, we can eradicate this. And up until then, that was not something that we knew for sure that we could do it. Our biggest infested area is in Akakū on the island of Maui, and it's a really challenging site. The topography is very steep, bisected by a fairly fast-flowing stream.
A lot of runoffs and ravines, a lot of ups and downs in between. But the most difficult parts, I have to say, about just walking through the place is countless of dangers that you can come across.
The little fire ants have managed to get into the stream and be carried along the banks by periodic small floods. And what we have now is a very fast-moving infestation that's travelling through some very steep and inaccessible country. You know, if they can find their way down a stream, they can raft or be on a piece of wood or something, come out of that stream and then, you know, wherever the tide takes that lump of wood, along with the ants attached. It's kind of a really high risk. We really need to do something quickly simply because we're not used to the speed at which these ants are spreading down that waterway.
And I'm pretty worried that if we can't stop it here, that the team might just take over, and that would be very sad to see that we can't be able to access these trails that our kupunas have taught us all these years.
If we don't get this under control here in Hana, then the same is going to happen, you know, island-wide. Folks in Maui, Hana, we're all going to lose.
The control efforts at Nahiku are at best difficult, dangerous, and costly. We cannot continue to eradicate new infestations indefinitely. Our efforts will be overwhelmed if we fail to stop the flow of ants from Hawaii Island.
So one of the places fire ants found themselves in recent years was in Cairns, which is in northern Australia. And they've managed to develop the techniques that are needed to produce a detector dog that can find just little fire ants. I like to call it biological rocket science. The better dogs are able to find very, very small colonies of fire ants of just a few hundred workers.
I see dogs as being something that could be very helpful for us in finding these infestations early and quickly.
Because we can bait for ants. You put down the peanut butter sticks, it takes a half hour before you can determine if anything's there. And we've also learned that when you're moving stuff around with forklifts and stuff, maybe the ants don't come out and feed.
That disturbance could cut off the desire of those ants to be out feeding.
So maybe they're there and they don't go to the bait.
And our detection method relies on ants looking for food.
Whereas a dog would be able to smell it no matter where or what state the ant's in. Because there's so many places to hide, because it doesn't have to come on an agricultural commodity. It could come in a pallet. They could look at more, wider, faster.
Every year we're getting new pests. We have a very small number of people that are responding to a growing number.
We can't address little fire ants with the small staff we have. That is clear.
I think about the other islands, and Big Island, Kona side, they worked with 2 inspectors for the longest time, and I think they have 3 now. Hilo is inundated, and